Hey guys, Indy here with Ultimate Tool Reviews. Well, today I'm going to be going over a little bit of the history about Dewalt and also some other pros and cons of the Dewalt tool brand. So Dewalt started off almost 100 years ago. They're at about 98 years now. I think it'll be 100 years in 2024. And they started off as a tool brand back in the early 20s, and they did a lot of things with, of course, corded tools at the time. And as we move through the years, as they come up to the early 90s, is when Dewalt really tried to rebrand themselves as a more professional grade of power tools. Fast forward again to 2004, they were acquired by Stanley Black & Decker, and back in the late 90s, early 2000s was when Dewalt had that early 18-volt stick pack tools, and those were really big at the time. Dewalt was kind of the industry leader back in those late 90s, early 2000s, and they just dominated the market. I remember one of my uncles who was big into construction. He had just Dewalt everything. They talk about it all the time, Dewalt, Dewalt this, Dewalt, Dewalt that. And it was a really big name back in those times. And Dewalt's kind of really continued that legacy of pushing out really good quality power tools at great pricing. Now I've got some power tools that I bought from Dewalt over the years. I've always had somewhat Dewalt. Dewalt's not my main brand that I use all the time. But I kind of keep them around for different projects that I need. They have a lot of good deals, a lot of good values you can find on their tools as well. Now that brings me into my first point about Dewalt, is that Dewalt, if you compare it to, say, like a brand like Milwaukee, if you compare Milwaukee, they have a good, better, and best platform. So basically Milwaukee's good tools are going to be their brush tools. Moving to better is going to be their brushless line of tools, and their best tool is going to be their fuel line of tools. Now if you look at Dewalt's kind of gets a little blurry there because they've got basically a homeowner grade level of tools. They've got a couple levels in between there. Then you kind of move into their brushless line of tools. Then you move into some of their XR tools. You've got also kind of sidestepping that with the atomic tools. You've got FlexVolt tools. And now recently they've added FlexVolt Advantage. And there's a few other names in there that they're thrown in as well too. So it can be rather confusing understanding exactly what level of tool you're buying in that Dewalt lineup. Add to that they have many models of, say, like drills and impacts, more so than most other brands put together have. So it can be rather confusing to understand exactly what level of Dewalt you're buying. And this has actually caused a lot of headaches with certain guys who, they buy the $100 Dewalt drill kit, it breaks in 3 months, and they're like, oh, Dewalt is terrible, Dewalt is terrible. Well, when in reality, you bought the Dewalt homeowner grade drill kit, where it's kind of hard to do that with brands like Milwaukee and Makita, where they don't really offer that homeowner level of product there. It's all kind of just professional grade. Dewalt does have a very vast array of what they offer. It's a little bit unusual to see a tool brand doing that, offer basically all the way from homeowner grade to very high-end pro grade tools. So it's a little unusual. You got to make sure that you watch what you're buying from Dewalt. Sounds even worth it to do a little bit of research and understanding what model of Dewalt you're buying as well too. So Dewalt is kind of always a little bit of a hit and miss when it comes to a lot of their tools, just because of that alone. Now I've always had Dewalt tools, kind of one of my first brands I ever bought into. About 10 years ago, I had some of their stick pack batteries and I had a few of their tools, and they work pretty well. I've always kind of had Milwaukee and Makita as well too, and I've always liked my Dewalt stuff. Now Dewalt can pretty much be found anywhere. Lowe's, Home Depot, pretty much everybody carries Dewalt. It's hard to not find a store that doesn't have Dewalt somewhere. Now that can be a pro and a con. So when I was first getting into tools, I lived in an area where we only had a Lowe's. Now that basically gave me a lot of the regular Dewalt tools, and I had the Dewalt 12-volt tools, which I've got a couple of them back here. I've got the Dewalt 12-volt circ saw here, and I've got the radio that's 20-volt and 12-volt. So what that means is, when I was at Lowe's, I've never really went to Home Depot because it was quite a bit farther away for me. Never got a chance to really go there and check out what they had for Dewalt there. I don't even know Dewalt made ultra power tools, nor did I really know that Dewalt had some other tools that weren't available at Lowe's. I didn't really have access to that full line of tools. Same can be said in reverse. If you only have Home Depot nearby and not a Lowe's, you'll never find the Dewalt 12-volt line of tools. So it's a little confusing, and I can see how that can cause some issues with guys not liking the brand too much. It's kind of, you want to either be able to buy it and see it all, or not see it all at all. It's kind of one of those things that can be a little strange. I know it's caused some confusion for me in the past, where they don't have all of it at every location. It's kind of weird, but Dewalt wants to be everywhere, and that's fine. If they want to try to push out their stuff just everywhere they possibly can, that's pretty cool. Now, here's where it actually offers an advantage to us as the consumers for that kind of thing, is that when we're looking for deals, like say like clearance deals, with so many different locations, so many different stores having Dewalt, you can often find clearance deals more commonly. Because if they say come with a new model, they now have to get rid of all of these stores' clearance deals, and it's not just at Home Depot or Lowe's, it's at both. So there's a lot of product they need to move now. So it kind of can help you out, finding different deals on different stuff. And of course, the 20 volt line at Home Depot is the exact same as the 20 volt line at Lowe's. All the batteries are interchangeable, the tools are interchangeable with the batteries. You don't need to worry about that too much. So Dewalt offers plenty of hand tools. Again, they're only offered at mostly Home Depot. They're not very many available at Lowe's, or actually, I don't think I've ever seen a hand tool from Dewalt at Lowe's, actually. But they could have some there, and it's just one of those things where it's be cool to see like a Dewalt store pop up, just kind of have everything. Oftentimes when I'm looking online, I'm like, I didn't even know Dewalt made that. I've got a Dewalt laser measure here. This is new at Home Depot. I picked one up when it just came out. Really handy little tool. Actually powers with USB, and that kind of brings me to my next topic here of Dewalt. They don't necessarily make everything they sell. And what I mean by that is they do a lot of rebranding. If you saw, I think about a year back at Home Depot, they started offering Dewalt gas mowers, which are the ride-on mowers. Now, Dewalt didn't actually make those. I think they're made by MTD, I think was the manufacturer of those. But of course, Dewalt stand behind those with their own warranty, and they just had the Dewalt branding. So one thing you'll find with Dewalt is you're not going to find a uniform level of quality throughout all of their tools. They also own, Stanley Black & Decker, the parent company of Dewalt, also owns a number of higher end tool brands. I think they own like Williams. There's a couple other ones I can't think off the top of my head. But you're going to find some of their hand tools are going to be a pretty good quality for what you're paying, just because Dewalt has access to some of those other good manufacturing places to make some of their tools. So they've got a lot of options open to them, which can be a good or a bad thing. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for, what you need. If you talk about their warranty, I've never had an issue with their warranty before. I've had a few things break that were lifetime warranty from them, and they do offer some interesting things that have lifetime warranty. A lot of their job site boxes and like some of their organizers have lifetime warranty. When you look at other brands like Milwaukee doesn't really offer a warranty on those at all, but Dewalt does, which is pretty cool to see that. And I've just called them a few times. Hey, I said, hey, the latch on mine broke. Can you guys send me a new latch? They're like, oh, no problem. We'll just send you the whole new unit. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So Dewalt has been pretty good with warranty. Never really had an issue with them at all. Of course, their warranty centers, their power tools are pretty good, just like Milwaukee and Makita. You can just send the tool in or drop it off, no big deal. And they'll get that repaired for you, no problem. So also, one of the issues that Dewalt has when it comes to having tons of different stuff of what they sell is that from what I've noticed, it feels like what Dewalt does is they kind of get a lot of development time on one tool and they move on to something else really quick. They don't really flesh out that area too well like Milwaukee will do. If you think of like Milwaukee, they recently did a whole new hand tool line, and there's a ton of hand tools in that line now. Kind of all aimed at that electrician trade. They also recently did a whole new M18 fuel vac system where they have a ton of new vacs for that. They have a ton of attachments. Looks really cool, really fleshed out. But when Dewalt does something like that, say like their new atomic impacts, it seems like they do these atomic impacts and they move on to something else pretty fast after that. There could be much more tools in that atomic level that they could keep making and which other people are asking for to find. For example, I think the biggest one is going to be their trade stack and also their other stack as well. I forgot the name of the other stack when they have that just came out. I think it's the Tough Stack. That's it, the Tough Stack 2 that just came out. That's a classic example of Dewalt there, where if you look at the Milwaukee Packout system, Milwaukee has never stopped making new stuff for Packout, where Dewalt has now run their Gen 2 of their Tough Stack, and it's kind of just dead in the water at this point. There's only maybe I think there's like 4 or 5 pieces for it. That's about it. I know some guys like it a lot. I've got a few of the T-Stack stuff as well, and it's okay. But I really wish they would keep fleshing that stuff out and just kind of keep a focus on some of the bigger items that a lot of guys want to buy and not just focus on that, then move on to something else and move on to something else and kind of just leave the stuff in the dust when there's really a lot of potential there that they're kind of just leaving on the table. And that's kind of what's pushed me to other brands at times is, Dewalt comes with a new tool and I'm like, okay, cool, they can make other stuff in that line and they don't, so I gotta find something else that has everything I need in that system. So moving on to more of the positives about Dewalt is that you're gonna find them is gonna be in that reasonable price range. Some other brands are gonna be much, much higher priced, but for the most part, when you look at their 20-volt line, as well as their 12-volt line, they're gonna have excellent pricing on a lot of their tools. I would say they're gonna be middle of the road when it comes to finding deals. One deal that I recently purchased myself was the new Dewalt Atomic Impact Driver. Right here, this is the DCF 850. Really cool tool because it's the shortest impact driver you can pretty much buy right now. And it came with two 5-amp-hour batteries, a charger for about $200, which is a really stellar deal. That was at Home Depot for a while, and it actually took me a while to find one in stock because everyone was just buying them up really quick. I think it's a fantastic tool for the price, and I've been really impressed with it so far. The other thing that I find really excellent that Dewalt does just phenomenally, and again, they kind of suffer from kind of moving on from some development on that and moving on to something else really fast, is their 12-volt line of tools. If you look at their biggest competitor, the Milwaukee M12 line, Milwaukee I think has at least 5 or 6 times as many tools for that line as Dewalt does. But I'm a really big fan of the Dewalt line because I like the slide packs better than the stick pack batteries. They are really compact and really easy to use. I'm just not a fan of that stick pack stuff. I love the slide packs. It gives you a much better grip on the tools. Now these can be found actually really cheap, and they've had some amazing deals on the 12-volt line of tools. They had a recently impact drill, 2 batteries, and you get a free tool of your choice, which included like the new impact driver, also included the new circ saw. You can get a nice, somewhat professional grade level of tools that are gonna be very light, easy to use, for a relatively good deal. But unfortunately, they're only available at Lowe's, and that's about it. It's kind of a strange situation there with DeWalt a lot of times. Almost you gotta do a little bit of a scavenger hunt to find their best deals and the best tools. So lots of things to consider there when it comes to DeWalt. It can be a little bit of hit and miss at times, but you gotta be careful of what you're looking for when it comes for a lot of the DeWalt tools. If we look at some of like the DeWalt radios, they do a lot of kind of sneaky innovation there, where this radio can be powered by 3 different sources. It can be plugged in, it comes with an included power cable. It's got the 20-volt batteries as well as the 12-volt batteries, which is pretty cool. So if you think about like DeWalt's FlexVolt line, they've got the 60-volt line. If you weren't aware, they also have a 120-volt line, basically the same as what comes out of your wall socket. Basically powering off 2 FlexVolt batteries. I know they have the miter saw. I'm not aware of any other tools they have for that, but they do have a cordless table saw that's also 60 volt, and they have an assortment of outdoor power tools and a couple other tools that are FlexVolt power tools. Now that line has been a little interesting. If you look at, say, like Makita XGT, came with their 40-volt line, they've already got significantly more tools in about a year than DeWalt has, with their FlexVolt line's been out for a few years now. So kind of interesting to see what DeWalt's doing with that FlexVolt line. I was waiting to see maybe like a mower coming out with that or some more powerful tools, but it seems like they've kind of just been dragging their feet at times on some of those lines like that. And if you weren't aware, DeWalt also had a 40-volt line, came out a couple of years back, and they kind of just let it die. I know it's for a lot of the outdoor lawn maintenance guys. They made it all for like doing like mow. I think they had a mower for it. I don't remember if they did or not, but I know they had a couple string trimmers, hedge trimmers, and I heard it had some pretty good reviews, but DeWalt just kind of let it die. They stopped making tools, stopped supporting it all of a sudden, and I know that was upset a lot of people who were already invested in that line heavily, and it just kind of went away. So that's one thing DeWalt can kind of do that's a little unusual. The 40-volt line really wasn't useful for anything else but those outdoor power tools, and it kind of just dissipated. So I think that might be why people are a little bit nervous to invest in things like FlexVolt. Is that going to stay around? How's that going to work still? I haven't really seen any tools in the FlexVolt line that I've been just really impressed with yet. I'm waiting to kind of see what they're doing with FlexVolt. Are we going to see a whole new line of FlexVolt tools? There just doesn't really seem a lot of motivation for anyone to upgrade into FlexVolt, unless you're already running a ton of DeWalt 20-volt and you want to be able to use those batteries as backwards compatible, just like the Metabo HPT multi-volt system. which is pretty cool what they're doing, kind of, multi-volt versus FlexVolt, kind of interesting there. I have heard of guys complaining about the batteries being unreliable at times. I know it's mostly been the first and second generation of batteries. They have 3 generations of batteries out now. The current 3rd generation batteries is going to be those yellow batteries that you're going to find. So always worth upgrading into newer generations of batteries, going to give you more reliability. Definitely check those out when it comes to the FlexVolt batteries. One thing a lot of people like about the Dewalt tools is going to be that Dewalt has kind of always had this, I would say, woodworker trade focus a little bit. Not entirely the whole line, but they seem to really do prioritize a lot of the woodworking power tools. Now, no one really has a quarter sheet sander out. I know Makita just released theirs not too long ago. It's a little pricey though, of course. Milwaukee doesn't have one right now either. I believe Cobalt has one. I might be wrong on that one, but I have to double check that. But these can be found pretty much everywhere pretty cheap. I actually picked up 2 of these on eBay. I just needed 2 for around the house working on a couple pieces of furniture, and they are relatively cheap. Whenever it comes to finding woodworking tools, Dewalt has always been a go-to choice. I feel like every time I walk into like a woodworking store that offers a lot of like lumber, I feel like I see all Dewalt stuff all around the room. It seems like a very popular choice by a lot of woodworkers. For whenever need to do something with woodworking, I'll kind of look for the Dewalt stuff first if I can find it. It seems like I can find anything when it comes to that kind of trade for Dewalt. It's pretty easy to find the Dewalt version pretty quickly. So that's kind of where Dewalt has kind of been pushing forward in strides there. If we move forward with some of their technology, if we look at the Powerstack, that's kind of an interesting battery solution they've got there. So they've actually kind of fell behind in that technology now because that new brand Flex at Lowe's is also offering that stacked lithium pouch technology. So they've got that offered in much larger amp hour capacities, where Dewalt is still offering that 1.7 amp hour, which it can be useful, if you're working above overhead, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense because it's kind of more for high demand tools, and you wouldn't really use a high demand tool with such a small amp hour battery. You're not going to power an SDS hammer off a 1.7 amp hour battery for very long. You might get maybe a couple holes and then your battery's dead. So it kind of negates any advantage you're going to get with that type of battery. I don't really see a huge advantage to buying that type of battery, maybe with like the Dewalt's impact drivers. But the problem is, if you look at some of the reviews, some guys have done some excellent reviews on comparing the new FlexVolt, or sorry, the new Powerstack battery against larger batteries. And pretty much as long as you have like a 3 or 4 amp hour battery or greater, you might as well just go with 3 or 4 amp hour battery and you're good to go. Even the 5 amp hour battery will outperform the Powerstack battery. So it's a kind of where's the larger amp hour stuff, Dewalt? I probably wouldn't buy one until I get at least a 3 or 4 amp hour size off that Powerstack battery, just because 1.7 amp hour is not going to get me very far on the job site, and I want to be able to go for a couple of hours where I have to worry about recharging a battery, not for a couple of minutes. So kind of curious what Dewalt's doing there exactly. Just an interesting thing that Dewalt's doing. I'm not sure what they're doing exactly, but it kind of keeps me looking for a lot of the deals on Dewalt tools, and I'm sure I'll find a deal on a Powerstack battery eventually as well. Also wanted to talk about some of the Dewalt impact wrenches. I did a video on this not too long ago when it came to impact wrenches, and when it comes to just overall value, when you compare power to price, as well as durability and reliability, and all the tools, Dewalt is absolutely leading that right now. They've took their focus away from just going for just raw numbers, even though they're actually hitting a lot of crazy high numbers right now. The new DC, I think it's the DCF 900 high torque is just absolutely insane. I saw a torque test channel review on that, and it's just hitting just insane numbers right now. I think it's the most powerful half-inch available right now as well too. But a lot of their compact stuff is just incredible. I got the new, actually I don't have it in front of me here, but I've got the new 12 volt 3/8 inch impact wrench, which also available in half-inch as well. So the same exact one is putting out numbers that are only just slightly less than this one. This is the DCF 921. And that one stays in my bag all the time. It's super compact, and I can do a lot of cool things with that little impact, and it is just phenomenal. I actually got rid of a lot of my Makita, I had a Metabo, and I had a Milwaukee that I actually got rid of because that thing just outperformed all of it. And I was actually able to make a little bit of money selling off my older tools and buying that new Dewalt because I only need one tool now. So really cool to see that Dewalt is pushing forward in some areas really, really well, and I hope they keep doing that as well. So moving on as well, Dewalt offers a number of reciprocating saws, and this is kind of an area where I've kind of had some bad experience with Dewalt. So when I first started doing some of the work that I started at a couple of years back, I needed a lot of reciprocating saws, and this is where I got confused with Dewalt when they had some of their homeowner stuff. They've got a 20-volt reciprocating saw that's brushed, and yeah, I thought, oh, I'm buying Dewalt, I'm buying a really good quality tool, and that tool started smoking with me on the first day I used it. It got it warranted, and I had the same issue with a couple days later. I started smoking again. I moved on to Makita, and I was totally fine from then on out. Now, I didn't know at the time that that was a homeowner grade level tool. It was the brush tool. I think it was like $100 brand new, but it just didn't hold up very well. But I didn't know at the time that you really need to go to some of like the brushless stuff or the XR stuff or the atomic stuff to get the better quality Dewalt. So that was an issue that I had with Dewalt. And when it comes to recip saws, they do have some awesome stuff. I do actually like this one. We did a review on this recip saw, the 12-volt one versus the M12 Fuel, and I think the M12 Fuel just beat out it's ever so slightly, but if you compare the cost of these, the Dewalt is a lot cheaper. So that's one area that Dewalt is going to be taking the lead here and there. It's going to be on price. And overall, the type of value you're getting with Dewalt is pretty good too. They're not going to be pushing themselves super high in price. They will on certain tools. Like I've seen their new I think it's the 20 volt is their new pin nailer they came out with, and it's a new kit. It's $300 for that kit. I think it's a little bit pricey for what it is. If you compare it to the Metabo, also I think Milwaukee has one for M12. It's also quite a bit cheaper. And then Makita has one that is tool only for only about 220 bucks. So that's kind of pricey for what it is. I know nailers are expensive, they're not easy to manufacture or repair, but I think some of the stuff Dewalt can do kind of pushes that price point up, but they could do that on purpose to then offer it on sale the next month. And speaking of sales, I would say Dewalt is right there in the middle at average when it comes to sales. If you go into Home Depot or Lowe's, kind of around the holiday times, you're going to see all the big brands offering their sale items. And Dewalt's gonna be there right in the middle. They've kind of always had their stuff a little bit more expensive than our people, but they're gonna give you more value with those tools. For example, last year, there was kind of across the board. Everyone's doing like a $400 drill and impact kit, and then Makita was offering 2 free tools, Milwaukee was offering 1 free tool. Well, what Dewalt did instead though was they had a drill and impact kit, and for $600, you got to pick 3 free tools, as well as that drill and impact kit came with a free circular saw. So you got basically 4 tools for just 200 bucks more. So it was a pretty cool deal. I didn't pick one up myself. I didn't need any more Dewalt at that time, but they do offer some pretty interesting tool deals here and there. And I feel like I see more Dewalt deals happening than I do pretty much any other brand. They're not the best deals every time, but I just see more deals from Dewalt. Now, of course, Dewalt offers tons and tons of stuff. Now, I can't cover every item they offer in this video, but when it comes to a lot of the bits, I would say most of my drill bits are actually going to be Dewalt. I feel like I can find them all the time. They're pretty good quality, and they're relatively cheap and available pretty much everywhere. So when it comes to overall Dewalt, I would say be careful when it comes to looking at their lines they have in their tools. Don't go for just the cheapest brush stuff. Go for at least a brushless version of whatever you're looking for when it comes to Dewalt. Do some research and reviews as well. I would say it's always worth checking the reviews on Dewalt tools. Check and see, is this tool known for failure? How's the reliability on this tool? And of course, keep your receipts. Make sure you can warranty a tool. But their hand tools, I've had nothing but great luck with those tools, and their warranty process is very simple. When it comes to a lot of other stuff, like their storage that they have for like on-the-go storage, it's okay. Price-wise, there's probably better options out there, and you're pretty limited to what you currently have. There's only a couple different options for their tough stack stuff. However, you can find deals on it that bring the price down nicely. But again, there's not a lot of options. You want more customization. You probably don't want to hop into the more Milwaukee pack outside. So guys, leave a comment below. What you guys think about Dewalt, and take care.